You won't believe what went down when Big Freedia stepped into the funeral. The room, filled wall to wall with people from all kinds of backgrounds, instantly fell into complete silence. It wasn't just out of respect, it felt heavier than that, something far more profound. But before we get into that chilling scene that left everyone in tears, let me take you back to the love story that made this loss nearly impossible to bear. This wasn't just about someone passing away. This was about the loss of a lifeline. Devo wasn't just some boyfriend. He was the quiet foundation behind Big Freedia's loud, fearless life. While the public saw the performer, the bounce icon, the legend behind closed doors, Devon saw the human, the one who cried at night, missed her mother deeply, and felt the crushing weight of fame. He never craved the spotlight, never posed for a picture, never tried to ride her fame. He was steady, loyal, always present. What made their story stand out was how real it truly was. No performances, no pretending for the public eye. Just two people in love, holding each other through every storm. Back in 2018, Devon had a brush with death. He was shot several times and, miraculously, pulled through. That experience changed him. He came out of it more peaceful, almost spiritual. He started to really grasp how delicate life is. Freedia once shared that he began seeing the world through a different lens after that. And when he emerged from that darkness, he drew her even closer.
Their bond deepened. It went beyond love. What they had became about survival, trust, and an unshakable connection. What's wild is that most people had no idea how deep their relationship ran. It was private, but never a secret. The kind of love that didn't need to be broadcast, because it lived in all the little things. In those quiet moments, in the small gestures, and always showing up, especially when no one else did. They had weathered so much together. Freedia had already suffered the loss of her mother, someone she was profoundly close to. And Devonte had been the one to help her navigate that grief. He never tried to fix her. He simply stayed, listened, held her when she needed to cry, gave her space when she needed to breathe. And over the following years, even as Freedia's career soared higher and higher, Devonte remained in the background, supportive, protective, grounding her. The most shocking part? No one saw it coming. There were no signs, no hints. And when the news dropped that he had passed, it didn't feel real. Freedia shared only a brief message online. It wasn't a long message, but the pain in her voice hit like a brick. She called him her baby, her love, her protector. She said her whole world had come to a halt, and she couldn't even function. She didn't share how he died. No details, no explanation. And that silence, that absence of answers, only made it all feel heavier. Fans were left stunned, heartbroken, confused. Some speculated maybe it was health-related. Others murmured about darker possibilities. But Freedia said nothing about the cause. Instead, she mourned, loudly, publicly, but still with a silence that screamed, "This grief is too deep for words." That's when the storm really began to build. No one knew what to do with the weight of it. People who had followed her for years started sharing their own memories. Some had met Devonte in passing. Others had only known him through Freedia's posts. But they all echoed one thing. He brought peace. And now that peace was gone. Then came the funeral. And that's when it all came crashing down. People flew in from every corner of the country. Local artists, LGBTQ+ activists, friends, fans, even strangers who had been moved by Freedia's story came to pay their respects. The church was packed from wall to wall. Music played, flowers surrounded the room, and the sadness in the air was so thick, it felt hard to even breathe. But here's what no one expected. Freedia, someone who had performed in front of thousands, who had stood strong through hurricanes, through trauma, fame, and loss, couldn't keep it together. The second she stepped up to the mic, she crumbled. Her whole body shook. Her voice gave out. She tried to speak, to say anything, but the words just wouldn't come. She folded over right in front of the casket, and for a few minutes, the only sound in the entire room was the sound of someone not just crying, but completely breaking. Friends rushed to her. They helped lift her up. They held her as she tried to catch her breath through the grief. And then, slowly, she began to speak. No prepared speech. No notes. Just raw, unfiltered, broken words. She spoke about Devonte's calm spirit, about how he never needed to be the loudest voice in the room, because he had a way of leaving the biggest impact just by being there. She said he had saved her, more than once, and when she said that, you could see the tears start. Shoulders began to shake, hands covered mouths, eyes brimmed with emotion. And then came the line that hit like a punch right in the chest. She looked out at everyone, her voice still trembling, and said, "I don't know how I'm going to keep going, but I know he'd want me to, and I will, for him." That one sentence, it broke everyone. You could hear gasps in the room. Some people broke down crying right there. Others just sat frozen, struggling to process what was happening. That moment was when the funeral stopped being just a farewell. It turned into something much more. A reflection of how deep love can run, and how devastating it is to lose someone who truly saw your soul. After the funeral, everything went still. Big Freedia, who had always shown up for her fans, suddenly vanished from public view. And honestly, who could blame her? She had just lost the one person who understood her in a way no one else did, someone who didn't love her for her fame, but for her heart. That kind of loss doesn't fade with time or distractions. It lingers. It hurts. And Freedia, she wasn't putting on a brave face. She wasn't pretending. She simply disappeared. Shows were canceled, appearances postponed. She stopped posting online, aside from a few short messages thanking fans for their love and support. Even those brief posts felt heavy, like each word carried a weight too much to bear. People kept checking her pages, looking for signs, hoping for an update that would show she was okay, but nothing came. Days turned into weeks, and the silence only deepened everyone's concern. Some started to wonder if she'd ever return. Others thought maybe she shouldn't. Maybe she needed to live quietly for a while, away from the spotlight and the pressure.
But this is where things get interesting. While Freedia stayed silent, the rest of the world didn't. Her fans, her community, even total strangers who'd never met her began to fill the silence. They started sharing old clips of her and Devonte, laughing, dancing, just being in love. Interviews surfaced where Freedia spoke about how Devonte had supported her through her darkest times. People left comments like, "I never knew Devonte, but I could feel the love between them through the screen." Others said, "Watching Freedia break like that brought back my own grief." One comment stood out, "This pain, it's not just hers. We all feel it." Because when someone loves you that deeply and then they're gone, it changes everything. That's when something unexpected started happening. People who had lost their own partners, siblings, parents, even best friends began opening up about their own grief. Suddenly, this wasn't just Freedia and Devonte's story anymore. It was all of ours. It became about grief itself and how it doesn't care who you are. Being famous doesn't shield you from heartbreak, and that made Freedia's story hit even harder. But here's the wildest part.